Hello everybody, it's Calxiyn here. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember that you guys should join our Discord server where we talk about RWBY, obviously. And you guys should become patrons over on Patreon to help support the channel, and so you guys can join into our patron talks that we do once a week. And so yeah, so that's my little advertisement. Don't hate me. Anyway, so today we're talking about Hazel, and I think that when Ozpin mentioned his semblance, that was interesting to me. I don't know if anyone else cares. I think that if Hunter got the video list before I made it, he would say, now we can cut that shit. But
we can cut it with... Well, I think you brought it up briefly
I personally
before,
think...
and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can wring 10 minutes out of it, you swine.
We'll try.
But you'll try.
I know.
You'll fucking try. And you should let me talk right now, because it is probably... me riffing will raise that closer to 10 minutes. And you should fucking thank me that I'm around at this unholy hour. Please continue.
Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about Hazel and blocking out pain because Ozpin mentions that the reason why Hazel doesn't feel any pain when he's injecting himself with the dust crystals is because that is basically his semblance. His semblance is that he himself cannot feel the damage being done, so to speak. And so that's why I think that Ozpin said that he was so dangerous, because there's no, not that there's no real way to beat someone that doesn't get hurt, but if you stab someone and they keep walking, obviously eventually their body is gonna shut down because you've hit vital organs and you're bleeding out. But if you don't feel that pain and you still keep going, that's a little terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know
I feel
what
like
I mean?
there's, evolutionary purpose to pain, like, oh, fuck me, that's my spleen, or like,
yeah.
oh, there's
And
giant
so,
shards of glass in me.
When you kind of have something like that, because it's basically, not to say that it's giving another aura because it's not protecting the body, but I'm assuming that with aura you don't feel pain because you're not getting hurt. It works like a force field, right? And that's why the RWBY girls and everyone else, they're able to do some pretty crazy ass shit. And so I feel like in terms of Hazel, it's almost like a second aura, but he does get hurt. Again, with the example I used, yes, getting stabbed would still affect his organs, right? If he got stabbed, let's just say he got stabbed in the stomach for simplicity's sake. Like, obviously, your stomach acid would basically leak out and then burn everything. I think that's how it works. That your stomach lining goes away.
On the topic of the stomach, so there is actually, I forget the name of it, but there is actually a medical phenomena of people unable to feel pain. And what's a common side effect of that is that they vomit quite a lot, which I find kind of hilarious. I don't know why, but it's that they don't feel pain and they vomit quite often.
I would hate that. I hate vomit.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful.
It's not great.
It's good to get out of your system, but like, I just find that hilarious that they could, like, take a bullet and not wince at all, but then they just sort of, lean over the side and...
Is that really true?
That's absolutely true.
Crazy.
And I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it somewhere.
Alright, y'all can fact check Hunter, that's your job. But anyway, in terms of the blocking out pain, I think that that's, I don't know, because Ren says that semblance can be, like, there's not really any scientific proof for this, but that semblance is, it's believed that it can be based off of your personality. And so Hazel probably would have already found his semblance. I mean, not necessarily. He could have unlocked his aura and his semblance later like Jean, and that could have impacted him, because as we talked about, we did a video about Jean, previously, and how, Jean really fits in with his personality of being very, self-centered and selfish in some moments, with the Cardin situation, and then becoming, selfless, right? And so, the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about the pain thing is because obviously, Hazel feels a lot of pain for what happened to his sister, and I feel like that's why giving him this has been very powerful in terms of, I don't want to say it's ironic, because I don't think it is, but I mean more so that he's able to block out all of the physical pain that you can throw at him, but the emotional pain that he's suffering won't really heal, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's a very powerful thing for them to do with that. Like, maybe, like, you guys sometimes are like, Cal, you're giving them too much credit, or sometimes, like, it's the opposite, and Cal, you're being too harsh on them, but I think that this was something that's very subtle.
Cal, find a happy medium.
I know. Like, that was something that is subtle and very thought out, is that, again, Hazel obviously feels great suffering over what happened to his sister and other children, because he said how many more children need to die, right? So it's not just his sister.
He's like Santa Claus and Jesus. He cares for the children.
I think it's more so, in my opinion, that he we talked about this and why Hazel hates Ozpin, but I think that his sister died and that led him to investigate, and he kind of saw that all of these other children had died at Beacon for various reasons. People like Pyrrha, in a sense. Pyrrha, Penny, you know. And so
the peas.
Yeah, the peas. So I feel like in that regard, you kind of get that sense that he is sort of in emotional anguish, not just for his sister, but for, again, those other children, as he says. And so I think that giving him a semblance where he doesn't feel physical wounds is very powerful, because yes, he doesn't feel physical pain, but nothing can really stop emotional damage.
From the
like, not to be cliche, but you can't stop your heart.
From a broken
You know what
heart.
I mean? You can't. You can't suffer from a broken. You know what I mean?
Myself today to see.
Are you
Sorry.
okay?
Anyways, I continue. It's a Johnny Cash song.
So this is a weird comparison, and I don't want to harp on it for too long. But you guys know that I like Kingdom Hearts, and so.
Oh, good Lord, Jesus Christ.
The nobodies in Kingdom Hearts, they're told that they cannot. This is more of an opposite, that they cannot feel emotions, and they're not prevented from getting hurt or anything, but they can't. They're being told that they can't feel anything, and so that kind of includes like pain and suffering and whatever. But you find out in the later games that that is not actually true, and that over time, nobodies will kind of regrow their old heart. That's gonna be a very confusing sentence if you haven't played the games, but y'all can stay with me. And so I feel like Hazel is kind of like that. Like, he was almost, you know, told, oh, your semblance is blocking out pain, you won't feel any pain, right? Because that's a very basic way to put it. But then after he loses his sister, he's like, sort of has that same idea as like the nobodies. Like, I'm not supposed to feel pain. Why am I feeling this? But really, it's like it can't stop you from feeling, again, that emotional pain more than the physical pain. And so yeah, I thought that was an interesting comparison. And one of the organization members says, you know, you made me, like, to one of the other characters, like, you made me feel like I had a heart, sort of thing, right? But, like, it's sort of like, no, but he did all along, but they were just sort of lied to, and I feel like that is kind of how Hazel must feel, because say, like, when you're young, you're told that, oh, your semblance is gonna stop you from feeling pain, that's your semblance, but then, you know, when something horrible happens, you're suddenly not prepared anymore, and I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like that this choice was very powerful on them. And yeah, I give Miles and Carrie a lot of flack sometimes, but when they do good, they do good. Like, there's not much else to say. So yeah, Hunter, so you said that you thought that was kind of interesting when I brought it up in the video.
Absolutely.
Have I
it was
fixed
interesting
your
because
interest?
I had just, you know, for once, in between my thoughts of STDs and, like, you know, lucidity between medication trials, I upon occasion do listen to you, Cal. And that time I perked up and I was like, oh, I had not really considered the sort of the metaphorical resonance of his semblance. I honestly, I do agree with a lot of what you say, that it's him, you know, he's dealt with a lot of pain, his semblance is dealing with pain. It's not difficult, you know, to draw the comparison between the two.
But I think it's also so subtle enough that people may not really notice that at first. That I think that they're trying to do that.
I feel like I may have
at
just
least
been stupid,
not that you're not that, but maybe it's just there were so many big things that happened in this episode. No one's thinking about Hazel right now, but that, like, because I didn't bring this up in my Discord server yet. But people weren't talking about Hazel. Like, people were talking about Hazel got thrown through the fucking door, but nobody was talking about this consideration, right? And so
also, I feel
that's
like
really why I wanted to talk about that.
It would have been really unsubtle and terrible if they had handed it in a different way. If it was just like, how can he fight like that? Like, it was afterwards, and it was like a serious moment. It's like, how could he fight like that? It was like, he doesn't feel pain anymore.
This isn't also
like the pain of his lost sister. And like, if it was like that, it was terrible. But they treated it almost like he was like, you know, Bane, or like a fucking.
Also, I want to bring up something that you
like
brought up.
Like the robot for the. I'm not done yet. It's like the robot from the Incredibles. It's like, it's learning. It's just like it's introduced as a part of the you know, battle scenario, and it wasn't pretentious. And I quite enjoyed it. Continue.
Anyway, so we kind of, you brought this up as a joke, but like the lucid between medications, but then I feel like,
me, but I digress.
I know, but I feel like that the injecting dust into yourself or whatever he's doing could be a metaphor for like drug use after.
That was in a fan fiction. They made dust like a type of heroin. Anyway.
But that's what I'm saying, is that this is kind of a reach, like, so don't, like, this is just kind of the last thing that I wanted to say. I think everything else I said up to this point is fine. This is definitely reaching, but I see the comparison to, like, this to, like, if you go through, like, grief and then you, like, kind of turn to drugs after somebody dies. You know what I mean?
Or just any real traumatic.
Or any real traumatic event,
in
right?
dozens of ways, because like not only did
and
his
so
sister
we
die,
joked
but his
about
wife
him
entirely.
shooting up dust or whatever, but now when you kind of consider everything that we've seen,
who among us hasn't joked about injectable drugs?
Like, again, this is a reach, and so if y'all were like, Cal, you had me up to here, but everything after this is bullshit, that's fine. But I just sort of feel like that it is sort of related, is that, yeah, the dust does make him stronger, but it could also be a drug metaphor. That's all that I'm trying to say. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember Patreon, Discord server, all of that fun stuff. I hope that we will see you there, and we'll see you later. Bye, guys.